As one of the members of the tech team for Northampton Neighbors, I am asked many times, I'm paying too much for Comcast. I'm paying too much for all of my tech. How can I get it down? And some people are actually paying over $200. I know somebody who's paying $235 a month and she doesn't even watch television. So yes, if you've most of you, if you have Wi-Fi, get it through Comcast. And I just want to verify that Xfinity and Comcast are the same thing. Comcast is the parent company, and Xfinity is the provider of internet and cable television. This is a typical Comcast bill that very few people actually look at. This is or was my Comcast bill. And you'll see that I'm paying for 125 channels of TV, of which I watch. And whoever, please mute yourself. Okay, thank you. And I'm paying for 125 channels of TV, and maybe I watch 3 or 4. TV is $99, almost $100, of which I have what's called the standard package. It has local news channels, it has some sports, kids and family, and entertainment. In addition, a $34 charge for broadcast. That means how you get your local channels. ABC, NBC, local Fox, CBS, local PBS. So an additional $34 just for broadcast channels. Then you're also paying I was paying $14.75 for sports, although I personally don't watch sports, but many of you do. Then there's an additional $76.50 for the internet. Now, internet and Wi-Fi are pretty much the same thing. It's how you get on your computer, and it's what brings the signals into your house. And also, if you're on Zoom, it's what sends the signals out if you ask a question. I'm paying for download as fast as 500 megabytes per second. And then, of course, there are more fees. I was paying for DVR service. That means I had the right to record shows that I couldn't watch. Also, I was paying $12 a month for that box that sits between the cable and my television that lets me use my Comcast remote to change the channels and to ask, use the microphone to ask for a certain show. Many of you have more than one TV box if you have other televisions throughout the house, and you're paying an additional fee for each one of those. You are also, unless you own your own modem or your own modem and router combo, and we'll talk about what that is in a bit, you're paying $15 a month just to rent a modem. So this is how the bill adds up. And of course, then there's taxes and fees and other charges. And I finally got fed up, and I called last Tuesday and I canceled my bill. I canceled my Comcast contract. Now, I was then going to go into alternatives for what to do if you get rid of Comcast, but I have a story from just this morning that I had to share with you. And this may be another reason why you are fed up with Comcast. I got billed for the month of March. I got an email this morning that my $206 payment had gone through. And I'm going, wait, I canceled my service. Of course, if any of you have tried to call Comcast, you end up with an endless string of messages. Do you want to have a text message sent? No, I want to talk to a human being. Are you sure you don't want? It goes on and on and on. And finally, I said, sure. I will text with an agent, and I was on with that agent for over an hour, texting back and forth while they made my bill okay. So if you've suffered that frustration, again, it may be time to start from scratch. Now, if you're going to start from scratch, you're going to have to look at a few things and really take an inventory of what it is you're getting and what you want. Internet, that's the same as Wi-Fi. It's how you get your email. It's how you browse the web. It's how you make your purchases. You may watch videos on YouTube. You're Zooming right now because you have some access to the internet. So if you're going to talk about either reducing your Comcast bill, which is very possible, or getting another provider, again, you've got to start from scratch. And you've got to ask yourself, how do I use this? How many devices do I use? Do I have desktop computers, laptops, tablets, smartphones, smart speakers like my Amazon Echo? I even have my refrigerator and my stove and my dishwasher on the Wi-Fi, although that's just more for fun because I like doing stuff like that. Then, if you're starting from scratch, you have to talk about television and what do you actually watch on your television? I was paying for 125 channels. What was I really watching? So, was I watching local channels like WWLP, the local NBC affiliate, ABC, NBC, the local Fox channel, PBS, WGBY? Then there are cable channels like CNN and MSNBC and Fox. And you also have other cable channels, the Learning Channel, Home and Garden. There are hundreds of other channels. Very important to a lot of people are the sports channels like New England Sports Network. And then, of course, a lot of people watch streaming channels or streaming apps on their TV like Netflix and Max and Hulu, etc. There are also people who get their telephone service through Comcast. They actually plug their phones into their modem and receive what we used to call a landline, but right now those aren't really landlines. You're getting them through your modem, which means if the electricity goes out, so does your phone service. But Comcast offers this thing called Triple Play, which is so easy. I get my internet, I get my television, I get my phone, one fee, done, don't have to think about it. Okay, so let's talk about all the components of what you're getting. You get Wi-Fi and Ethernet, and basically what happens is you've got a cable coming out of your wall, and there is a cable with this kind of connector, and it goes into a modem. It's actually a modem router. We don't have to go into the details. It's actually called a gateway. And it not only receives those signals, but then it broadcasts Wi-Fi throughout your house. And most people find it convenient to rent an Xfinity gateway, although some people have figured out that if they could buy their own modem, they have to configure it with Comcast, but they can get rid of that $15 a month fee. You know you're on Wi-Fi because if you're on an Apple product, you will see this symbol at the top right of your screen. And if you are on a PC running Windows, then in the bottom right, you will see these little curved lines. And that's how you know that you're on Wi-Fi or you're on the internet. Now, my bill, I was paying for download as fast as 500 megabytes. I was not getting that unless I connected my computer with a cable, with a cord, to an opening in the back of the laptop that looks like this. Or if you have a desktop computer, that's an Ethernet cable. You'll get your fastest speeds doing that. It will be slower if you're connecting everything with Wi-Fi. The real question is, how many megabytes do you actually need? Do you need 500? Do you need gigaspeed internet? And according to Consumer Reports, if you have just one device connected to your Wi-Fi, you have either a laptop or you just want to do email, you only need 46 megabytes. Let's say you have 6 devices and you're doing laptops and television and emailing, and you connect your phone to the internet, you need 197. And if you're a really heavy duty gamer playing online multiplayer games, or everyone in the house has a ton of devices, maybe you need 217. You do not need 500 megabytes. And yet that is what many people are paying for. You can do a speed test by just going to Google and typing in speed test and seeing what you're getting. With my 500 megabytes or up to 500 megabytes, I was getting over Wi-Fi 50 megabytes. With my Ethernet cable, I was getting 230. So I was not really even getting what I was paying for. Now, there are many other ways to get Wi-Fi into your house. Unfortunately, here in Leeds and Florence, when you go to Verizon Home Services, they have fiber optics that sends the signal by light rather than electronically through a copper tube. Nice and fast. That's called Fios, but it's not currently available, at least not at my address. Same with T-Mobile. They are offering 5G home internet. That's a broadcast internet, not available in my neighborhood. I live in downtown Florence. There are some other ways to get Wi-Fi. You can turn your phone into a hotspot, and it'll take the cell phone signal that comes into your phone and broadcast it as Wi-Fi. You can also get these things called Wi-Fi hotspots. You can buy them, and then you can pay a monthly fee to AT&T or other services, but they turn out to be expensive. You are going to pay each month $30, $40, $50, and in return, you're only going to get 10 or 30 or 100 gigabytes of data. And that is not going to be enough if you stream a lot of movies, watch a lot of YouTube. Plus, you are not going to get very fast service. I did a speed test on my phone with a Wi-Fi hotspot, and I was getting somewhere between 6 and 7 megabytes. And that is not enough to do heavy-duty streaming. Now, currently being installed around Northampton, Florence, and Leeds is something called Gateway Fiber. And again, this is a fiber optic. It sends the signal by light. And to get Gateway Fiber, you, depending on how many megabytes of data you want, it's going to be between $65 and $150 a month. 300 megabytes, as I've already said, is totally fine. Even though they say it's suggested for 1 to 5 devices, it really is not. It's perfect here. I have, in my house, there are many people living here. We have multiple TVs and computers and phones, and it works just fine. This is what a Gateway Fiber installation looks like here in my house. Not particularly attractive, but it can be put somewhere where you don't have to look at it. And what we found after we had Gateway Fiber installed last week was that we are getting download close to the 300 that we're paying for, 275 plus megabytes download, meaning coming in. streaming TV, streaming video, and 155 upload, meaning sending a file, sending an email, or my talking to you right now over Zoom. So now I have Wi-Fi, but what about television? And this is why there are reasons to stay with Comcast. One reason is you call them, and if you tell their electronic service that you want to disconnect your service, you're going to get a live representative pretty fast. It's what we all know. We've been doing it for years. You don't have to think about it. They do all the thinking for you. You turn on the TV, you change the channels with the Comcast remote, you push the little microphone, ask for what you want to see. It's easy, and it's what we're used to. And switching to another method can be really daunting, especially if you feel challenged by technical issues. There are other reasons to stay with Comcast. I think in response to the challenges from Gateway and Verizon and T-Mobile, they are now offering something called Internet Now and TV Now. And you can I made some notes about what you can get, and you can switch to this and pay $40 to $60 a month just for Wi-Fi. You can then get another $20 and get 125 channels, but those channels do not include the local broadcast channels. One representative said they did, another representative told me not, and you have to sign a contract for a year to get these prices. So again, they are making an effort to offer lower packages. They're sweetening the deal with selling you a phone in addition, but there are some limitations. And as I was saying, this is what it's going to cost. There are reasons to leave Comcast, and you don't need all those channels. It's still too expensive unless you go with the Now packages, and that's still pretty expensive. I saw switching as kind of an adventure, not an impediment, but it took some technical knowledge. I think another reason, I don't know what your experience has been with customer service. You heard about my experience. I think I've heard a lot of complaints about customer service at Comcast, and even how hard it is to get a human being on the phone. So Comcast versus Gateway Fiber. Last week, I called up Comcast and I was really having trouble interacting, and they're telling me, don't you want us to send you a text? No, I want to talk to a human being. When I said I wanted to cancel, I got through in 6 minutes, which was about the fastest I could do calling Comcast. When I called Gateway Fiber, I got through in a couple of seconds, more than 1 minute, to get a live agent. Now, the question is, let's say you leave Comcast, what are your options for television if you don't have Comcast? If you want to get the local broadcast channels, you can still get some of them by putting an antenna on your roof and connecting that to your television. And if you don't want to pay a technician and the fees for an over-the-air roof antenna, you can get indoor antennas. And they're relatively easy to hook up. However, you are not going to get a whole lot of channels. At least that was my experience with an amplified indoor antenna. I got four channels of WGBY. I definitely got the local ABC channel. Sometimes I got CBS, sometimes I didn't. I got the CW, local Fox, if the wind was blowing right. But almost certainly you are not going to get the local NBC affiliate, WWLP. This is this is for a lot of reasons. I don't want to go too
Sorry,
much.
I'll do it. I'm going to do it softer.
And whoever just spoke, could you please mute yourself? Thanks. And I had a long talk with the technical office at NBC, the local NBC, about why you can't get that. And without going into too much detail, he said, well, our broadcast thing is in Agawam. You really can't get a good signal from Agawam to Florence. We have another broadcast from the top of Mount Tom, but that's running a new protocol called ATSC3. Are you having fun with this yet? You need a special TV or a special box like the Zapper box to get that. The Zapper box costs a few $100s. So for right now, it's unlikely that you're going to get WWLP, which is our local NBC News, with an antenna. So the other solution, of course, are smart TVs. These, again, are televisions that log onto your Wi-Fi and bring the signal in that way. And some TVs sell themselves as smart TVs. They already can receive Wi-Fi. If you have any flat screen TV, even if it's not a smart TV, maybe it's just a slightly impaired TV, you can turn any flat screen TV into a smart TV. And I'm sure you all have heard of Roku's and Google Chromecast and Apple TV and Fire Sticks from Amazon. Yes, you can do that. Then you have to plug them into this little slot in the back of your TV, and you use a special remote control provided by whoever it is, Roku or Chromecast, to get your signal. And you will get an interface that looks something like this. Thousands of channels. You can get news in Serbo-Croatian from a Roku. You can get thousands of channels if you're comfortable using this method. If you simply want the same kind of channel lineup that you got from Comcast, you are going to have to buy a package. And we're talking about Hulu Plus TV, Direct Stream, Sling, YouTube TV. These, except for Sling, which does not have our local broadcast channels, you are going to get all the local broadcast channels and most, but not all of those channels that you're already watching. You know, the news channels like CNN and Fox and MSNBC, you might have to pay extra. For sports channels, you can pay, someone emailed me and said you can pay $28 a month for New England Sports Network if you want to watch the Boston teams. It can be very confusing. And this is one of the reasons why people just want to stick with Comcast, because they don't want to have to think about all of this. And that's why Northampton Neighbors has a tech team that can help you with this. And if you're really just frustrated by all of this and you want to kick all of these services out the door, then maybe just find the time to start reading again. And that is the end of my presentation.